Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Lego Church. I think this is probably the fifth installment now. I've been building so much Legos, I think I'm starting to talk to the characters as I'm doing it. I'm glad that you guys are all here today. I hope all is well. I hope that soon we will be able to see each other all again. I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you all had a great Easter. I know that I did. It was really fun going out and seeing all you guys. I know my wife and I just really enjoyed that. It was a long day, but it was a very fun day. And also the first time that I've ever dressed up as a dragon. So that was fun too. This week I'm going to start with a lesson that may go for 2 weeks. So I've got a new story to tell you today, and I hope that you're going to enjoy it. It's probably something that's very familiar to you. Maybe you've heard it before, but I'm going to look at it from a little bit of a different angle. Sometimes when I read Bible stories, there's things that stick out to me that I find very strange, and so maybe I'm going to let you into my brain a little bit and the way that I think. So I hope that you enjoy it. All right, everybody, I got a new character to introduce to you this morning. This guy is world famous. In fact, he's still famous today, and I bet that there's a lot of people that don't read the Bible that you would find that recognize this guy. You could bring his name up and they would immediately know who he is because of the story about him in the Bible. Let me see if I can get him in the frame here to introduce him to you. Oh, there he is. He's peeking at you. That is Jonah. Now, Jonah was a prophet of God. And what a prophet of God was he was God's voice to the people. So God would speak to the prophet, and the prophet would then relay that message to the people. Now, God had a message for Jonah, but Jonah wasn't really too happy about it. Let me read to you what God said to Jonah. You will find it in the book of Jonah. In fact, he's so famous, he has his own book in the Bible. It's not a very big book. It's about 4 chapters long. Very interesting read. You should read it or have your parents read it to you. Let's go to Jonah 1:1. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. Now, Jonah was not too happy about that, because the Ninevites were a wicked people, and not only that, they were part of Assyria. It was the fact the capital of Assyria was Nineveh. And the Assyrians had done nothing but persecute and be a trouble for the Israelites for many generations. So I think Jonah was a little confused, a little upset that God was wanting to save these people rather than destroy them. So that's where our story picks up. Come on along. I'll show you something cool. All right, so here we find our friend Jonah. He is very upset. Now, why would God want me to go to Nineveh? Those people are horrible. They've been nothing but horrible to the Israelites. I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to run away from God. I'm going to run to Tarshish, which is about as far away from Nineveh as I can get. God will never find me there. So I'm going to head down to Joppa to see if I can catch a ship to get me to Tarshish. So away goes Jonah. He comes up to the captain of a ship. Look at that ship. Wow. Jonah looks at that ship and he sees the captain standing right outside. Hey, where are you going? We're going to Tatooine. Tatooine? I never heard of that place. I'm trying to go to Tarshish. You're not going to get anywhere in the bucket of bolts of that ship. Hey, kid, this ship is an awesome ship. Don't talk bad about it. Well, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm heading to Tarshish. So Jonah went on his way. All right, hold on a second. If you go read the book of Jonah, you're not going to find that last part in there. I just kind of threw that in. Kind of hoping maybe Disney or Lego sees that and they send me some free Legos. So let's get back to the story. All right, here's our friend Jonah again. He is still looking for a ship. So he's walking down through Joppa. he finds this guy. This guy's got a ship. Where's your ship headed, mister? We're headed to Tarshish. Well, that's awesome. That's exactly where I need to go. Can I get on board? Sure thing. So, Jonah decides to get on the big boat. Let's take a closer look here so that you can kind of have an idea. We've got a lookout up top, the big sails and the mast. Looks like we've got a bird up on the top there. And along the front of the ship, oh, we got some people up here that think they're the king of the world or something. So here we find the ship, and Jonah has boarded the ship. Everything is great. Everybody on board's having a good time. In fact, everything's so good, Jonah just wants to be by himself, so he decides he's going to go down into the bottom of the ship, and he's going to go take a nap. So, while he does that, let's read what happens in the Bible and find out exactly what happened to Jonah. All right, so let's find out what happens next in the Bible here. In Jonah chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, like we saw, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep." So let's go find out what happens. All right, so here we are again back at the ship, and everybody is panicking because of this giant storm. As you can see, they all have their cargo that they're getting ready to throw overboard. And they're praying to their own gods. Away goes the cargo. Throwing all their stuff, all their possessions overboard. All gone, all overboard. It's gone. Gone overboard. And where's Jonah? Jonah is still sleeping. Okay, I know that's really kind of a weird spot to stop the story with everybody throwing cargo over the ship. What does it have to do with anything? Well, when I was reading that, like I said, there was something that really struck me as funny. Because all those people just tossed all their belongings overboard of this ship because of what Jonah did. Have you ever committed a sin? Have you ever done something wrong? Have you ever thought about what the consequences are when you do that? Well, this is the consequences that these people are paying because of Jonah's sin. Let me give you another example. Come with me. All right, so as you can see here, I've got a whole bunch of dominoes laid out on the floor here. Before I set this off, I want to explain to you what this means. It's called the domino effect. So, back in the story of Jonah, when all of the people threw their cargo over the ship, that could have been all their worldly possessions. Maybe these people were moving from one place to another, and that was all they had. Or maybe it was somebody that was selling something, and that was their business, and they were transporting goods from one place to another. They threw all the cargo over that ship, and it affected them greatly. And who knows how many people that could have affected beyond that, because if a businessman was trading something and he had to make that money for his family, now his family doesn't eat, and then his kids go hungry, and so on. And so what that is, it's actually the domino effect. So what Jonah did affected a lot of people, sort of like these dominoes. Check this out. That's exactly what can happen when you don't follow the Word of God, or if you disobey your parents, or you lie, or you steal or something. It affects somebody. It doesn't just affect you, it can affect many people on down the line. Let's go back and see what Jonah's up to now. All right, so let's go back to our story. We find that Jonah's asleep. Let's find out what the book of Jonah says next. In Jonah 1, beginning in verse 6. So Jonah's asleep. The captain went to him and said, How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us, and we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots and find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Now, casting lots means that maybe they drew straws, and whoever drew the shortest straw was the person that lost, or maybe rolling dice and hitting a certain number. That's kind of like casting lots. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" He answered, "I am a Hebrew and worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so earlier. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" "Pick me up and throw me into the sea," he replied. So Jonah was found guilty. They found out that it was him by casting lots, and he explained to them that he had run away from his God, which was the one true God. And it seemed kind of interesting that this really terrified those guys. So let's go back to our ship and find out what happens. All right, so here we are back at the ship, and we see that everybody is in uproar, and oh, look at that. There is Jonah, and they are going to throw him overboard. All these guys, sure they didn't want to do that, but that was the only way that they were going to calm the seas. So overboard goes Jonah. All right, so Jonah got thrown overboard. That's where we're going to end our story for this week. I just wanted to kind of stop the story right there and just kind of highlight exactly what we learned today. We learned that sometimes what we do, the things that we do, really can affect other people's in a negative way. So we really need to think about what we're doing. If we're doing something wrong, we're lying or we're cheating or disobeying, that you know what, sometimes what we do affects people around us. And they have to pay the consequences when they didn't do anything. Just like the guys on the ship. The captain of the ship had no idea who Jonah was when he brought him on board, and he didn't know that he was going to have to throw away all of his possessions along with all the people that were on that boat. The effects of that for those people probably lasted for a long time, because they probably lost a lot of stuff because of what Jonah did. So just remember, what we do affects those around us. Come back next week. We will see what happens to Jonah at the end of our story. And it's a good story, and I hope you join me. And hey, maybe next week we'll all be together again. I don't know. Maybe this will be the last Lego Church. I know that I've had a lot of fun doing this, but I really hope that we can get back together real soon. I really miss you guys. See you guys next week. Bye.